Hello and welcome to Views on News. I am Jawad. Tehami. Pakistan and China are celebrating the 10 years of China-Pakistan Economic Corridor, and this era of 10 years is being termed as the decade of brilliance. Chinese Vice Premier Mr. Hu Lufeng visited Pakistan for 3 days in which he held meetings with President Dr. Arif Alvi as well as Prime Minister Shehbaz Sharif and Chief of Army Staff General Syed Asim Munir. He also attended a special ceremony to celebrate the 10th anniversary of China-Pakistan Economic Corridor that was held in Islamabad, and also witnessed a signing ceremony of the agreements and MOUs between Pakistan and China. Now, during his visit, both Pakistan and China have expressed satisfaction over the steady pace of China-Pakistan Economic Corridor and have also expressed firm resolve to continue working together for the realization of the shared objectives of this game-changing project. Now, during the special ceremony that was held yesterday in Islamabad, President Xi Jinping, in his congratulatory message, reiterated China's unwavering support to Pakistan. Also, let me quickly bring in our esteemed panel of guests. We are honored to have been joined in the studio by Mr. Faheem Sardar. He is Senior Policy Specialist at Strategic Policy Planning Cell, National Security Division. Mr. Faheem, thank you very much for your time, for being with us. And also in the studio, we are honored to have been joined by Mr. Amir Hussain. He is Senior Journalist. Mr. Amir, thank you very much for your time, also for being with us on Views on News tonight. We really appreciate that. Let's begin the discussion with you, Mr. Faheem. Now, since we all know Pakistan is faced with economic challenges at the moment, the timing of the visit of the Chinese Vice Premier here in Pakistan to revitalize the China-Pakistan Economic Corridor, how significant do you think that is?
Thank you. I think it's more a question of accelerating CPEC Phase 2, which I think China and Pakistan both are keen to sort of move towards. Pakistan's economic situation, inshallah, will improve. The government is working towards it. And of course, new strategies are being deployed to make sure that we are able to pull ourselves out of this dollar liquidity crunch. Having said that, when we talk about CPEC is a mutually beneficial project which not only benefits Pakistan and China, but it also benefits the region, because Afghanistan is involved, Central Asian states are involved. Let's be honest, even India was invited to become part of CPEC, but India refused. So it's a project which sort of links the region, and there's a historical link to it. I mean, we've talked about it 1,000 times, but I have to mention it. The Silk Route was on this path, so this is not something new that's coming up. It's like going back to where things used to be. This region used to be quite integrated economically and socially, so this is sort of going back to our roots, where we were perhaps 1,000 years ago, perhaps during the time of the Mughals. So also during the time of the Mughals. So when we talk about CPEC is a geostrategic, geoeconomic project which is not just restricted to Pakistan and China. It has regional implication as well, and it's primarily it's economics oriented.
That's why it's not being called as the flagship project of Belt and Road Initiative?
Which it is, by the way, because there are 6 nodes, 6 points of sea exit and entry on BRI. This was the first one. And of course, when the South China Sea is facing a lot of issues, it's a very long path as well. But if China can have an access point from this side, first it was just Gwadar. Now the BRI is moving in parallel to the Russian territory as well, and other routes are being developed as well. So we're talking about not only on the western side with Russia, you're talking about the eastern side with Myanmar and other countries as well.
Right. So let me proceed with the discussion. Mr. Amir Hussain, when we talk about this specific visit, we have seen the statements coming from the Chinese side, as Mr. Xi Jinping has said, that no matter how international landscape may change, China will always stand firmly with Pakistan. So looking at this very particular statement by Chinese President Mr. Xi Jinping, what does that signify about the bilateral relationship between Pakistan and China?
Well, it reiterates the long-term relationship between two sides, right? the Chinese know that, and Pakistanis also know. We also know that we are living in a very fluid international system, where we have a number of international players are taking new games are being shaping up. The Quads region is coming. Australia, Japan, India, and others are encircling the whole region. So China is looking at Pakistan because Pakistan has been long-term friend. Our friendship is not only about economic transactions; it's a friendship that goes beyond that. The friendship that strategically linked Pakistan and China. So I think there was some we see some of the slackness in some delays in the later stage of the project from 2018 to 2021, but still China think that Pakistan can always come back and we can always negotiate and we can always go forward with this. For China, it is not only an economic relationship for China and for us as well. The Belt and Road Initiative is a regional connectivity. As Mr. Faheem said, there's historical significance to it as well. But also in current political scenario internationally, when we look at the landscape, the new landscape is being emerging in the region. China and Pakistan both need to come together strongly now. The way India is playing with different powers towards a new great game. I think the new great game is there, and Pakistan and China, if they consolidate their relationship further through this, the CPEC is one of the fundamental magnet for revitalizing their relationship, for reinforcing the commitment for a long-term future prosperity, and working together towards that end. I think this message of the Chinese coming from China, that a top brass from China, is something which signifies the importance of this enduring long-term relationship between two sides.
Right, Mr. Faheem, now looking at this particular visit by the Chinese Vice Premier to celebrate the 10th anniversary of China-Pakistan Economic Corridor. Now, when we talk about the first phase, what have been the major achievements so far?
The major achievements have been that, first of all, CPEC is on the ground. It exists. There are economic projects linked to it, most of which are related to energy. But these projects are active. These projects are producing value. We can get into the debate of how they're priced and how they're not priced. That's a separate issue. CPEC is active. CPEC needs to be accelerated. CPEC needs to be pushed forward for our national interest as well as for the regional interest, for regional integration as well. In phase two, I think we can very clearly expect that there's going to be an acceleration of activity. And a lot of, I think most of that activity is going to be economics oriented. And we will be seeing the integration of the regional countries as well, Afghanistan, Central Asia. It's easier said than done, but I think we can very safely say that we're going to see something, we're going to be seeing a lot of more activity on CPEC. Not about CPEC, but on CPEC.
So when we talk about the completion of the first phase, as you already mentioned about energy projects in particular, they were the prime focus in the first phase. Now almost 16 have been completed, 5 are under construction, and they give us an idea that they have that very quite diverse source of energy mix, getting from hydro, also from solar, as well as from coal. So that's going to considerably reduce Pakistan's dependency on imported fuel to ensure its security energy needs.
It should. That is what the original objective was and is, and that's what the government is focusing towards. This is a transitionary phase. We have to understand that these things don't happen overnight. They take their own time. Energy projects are long-term, and they have a long gestation period for them to really start to show fruition and to the point that they start to show lower costs. Having said that, it is extremely important for us to sort of realize the actual economic importance of CPEC. You see, when you talk about CPEC, you have to look at the Panama Canal and the Suez Canal. If you just shut those two canals down, what happens? The world trade is completely changed, as it was before the canals were made. It's a shorter route, simple. But having said that, I am expecting a lot more of goods being moved on the CPEC. You see, there's a difference between talking about CPEC and talking about business on CPEC. So there's a difference. So I'm expecting more business on CPEC because right now everything is about economics. Geostrategic aspects are there, they're not going anywhere. But economics has to now come to the forefront. This now has to result in an economics fruit, so to speak. And that's exactly, I think, what both countries are looking towards. This now has to turn into an economics solution. Once that happens, you have other countries, they're just going to be very happy to come on board. Afghanistan being the first one, Central Asia, then you move towards Russia, and then you have, again, you're connected to the BRI. Then you can connect to Upper Central Asia and then towards Europe. So we have a lot happening right now, but at the same time, you've got the Russia-Ukraine issue that's causing a lot of tension. India is causing a lot of tension. India has shown a lot of aversion towards CPEC. So Pakistan has to be able to handle the pressure that India is creating unnecessarily. However, CPEC phase 2 is expected to be far more focused on economics and economic transactions.
Right, Mr. Amir Hussain, this particular visit by Chinese Vice Premier, do you think it has instilled a new spirit in the acceleration of CPEC, especially when both the countries are bracing themselves to enter in the second phase?
Yeah, absolutely, because there was some pessimism in for some years that perhaps CPEC is not picking up. Though we know that the early harvest projects like the energy projects, infrastructure projects were well on the way. And then in the second phase, more economic activity, economic zones to be established. Then there was a lot of talk about transfer of technology and creating real-time employment for Pakistan and transforming our agricultural practices, transforming our economic practices, industrialization, and linking markets through regional connectivity. So it was a larger scheme in mind, and I think that is the most important part. It took a lot of time because I think 10 years is not big time, but still we can understand that the second phase is important. You need a lot of planning, you need a lot of analysis of how to go about it, because there are certainly, when two states interact for a long-term, very productive project like CPEC, they have to sometimes sit back and think about reflection is important. I think reflection time was important. Now, this symbolism, again, the Vice Premier, what he is sending out important message is that now it is time to come to real, as Mr. Faheem said, talking about business actually, doing the activities that actually transform the lives of people. And there is optimism, of course. Pakistan needs a lot of energy. Pakistan needs a lot of indigenous industrial base, which can come through this important second phase of the project. We needed basic infrastructure which is being developed. The energy needs will soon be fulfilled because we will have less dependence on the fuel, which is very the fluctuation of prices in international market. We will have our own energy bases, we will have also our own workforce well trained, we have technology, and we will have this economic domains, arenas like economic zones where a lot of economic activity is expected. So I think now the time is to think about how to improve the trade by upgrading the infrastructure further. For example, when we talk about China, Pakistan, the main artery which links China to Pakistan is Karakoram Highway, which needs to be expanded if you want to do real business through China on the ground. So I think there are many things that are being considered. There's also talk about the railway track and all that. I think if these things are materialized till 2030, for example, we will have a very good prospect for Pakistan and China both to further cement our relations, which are already good.
Right, Mr. Faheem, as Mr. Amir has mentioned, the importance of the special economic zones. Could you shed a little bit of light regarding the importance and significance of special economic zone under the banner of CPEC, and what sort of potential and prospects do these zones carry for the future?
Special economic zones are meant, as the name suggests, to be zones where economics is given priority and ease of activity. Special economic zones are supposed to be near a transport area, a transport medium. What typically happens is when you've got SEZs, you will find them near ports. If you look at the Chinese SEZs, many of them are near ports, large-scale ports. They produce something and they just put it on a ship and export it. When we talk about CPEC, you have Rashakai, you have Dhabeji, you have, we've got like 8 major SEZs that we've planned out, we're rolling them out. They are all near CPEC. Most of them are near CPEC, sorry. The objective is to produce something and put it onto that highway and move it either towards China or towards Gwadar for export in either case. So an SEZ has to be able to be facilitated in a way that the goods that I've been talking about are produced. They are immediately put onto that medium, and that medium takes it either to Gwadar or to Kashgar. And if SEZs are far from a medium, transport medium, whether it's sea or land, in this case, of course, we're talking about land initially, then it creates trouble. You have increased costs, economic costs. You can't seem to be more competitive. But here, what we've tried to do, what Pakistan has tried to do, what the government is trying to push towards, is keep things close to CPEC, the road, the network, so that you can just put it onto that main highway, and from there, if it goes to Gwadar, then it goes onto the water medium. From there, you can ship it to whichever country that is. SEZs have to be galvanized. They have to be made more efficient so that CPEC can use them more appropriately.
So how can they be made more efficient?
Just ask what the industry wants. Simple. It's very simple. What does the industry want? The industry wants all utilities, ownership of land, and the ability to have a hassle-free movement of goods. That also entails that the industry has to comply with all the laws. You can't have industries being given a carte blanche. You can't do that. They have to follow the laws. So I think, as I said earlier, that we're going through a transitionary phase. If we can balance this out, the implementation of law, the checking of goods and services, if that can be done within the SEZ, goods are sealed there and then they're moved to the final destination, south or north. I think we can make things a lot easier for us and for the industries. That's where it's a win-win situation for everyone. Even for Pakistan's taxation authorities, you end up getting more tax. So to re-answer your question, if an SEZ is to be efficient, it's very simple. You can just ask the industries, what do they want? And I've given a very small list. That's what they basically need: utilities, ownership, protection.
Right, Mr. Amir, when we talk about these special economic zones under the banner of CPEC, what do they hold for the general public when we talk about Pakistani public in particular?
Well, I think it's completely related to a strong economic rationale, because this project has multidimensional aspects for Pakistan. One is, of course, the economic growth perspective. When your economy started growing, the trickle down will be there. Of course, your economy grows, and you are linking those special economic zones with your economic needs and industrial growth prospects. And of course, there is a lot of cultural exchange will take place. For example, students from Pakistan now have already started to go into China for studies, with a very good prospect of having higher studies. And even PhDs people are doing from China. Yes. So I think these are the exchange programs which will also help the young generation, our youth, to have a larger option for their economic, for their educational excellence as well. Apart from that, I think what we can see that there is generally a pessimism because of the economic downturn in Pakistan. We have always been talking about economic protectionism, because we are completely import-oriented economy, where if we do not produce enough and export, and we do not produce the deficit, trade deficit through our own productivity, then we are going to be further impoverished, and that's where the poor people of Pakistan come in, because we have to ensure an inclusive economic growth, and if these economic zones, if they are established in a way that are responding to our industrial need, that are responding to our economic needs, which I'm sure there is a lot of thinking going on behind the scene, and that will be a great prospect for the common people as well.
Right, Mr. Faheem, a prospect for the common people over here in Pakistan through these special economic zones.
Special economic zones are they're going to be catering to specific industries that come onto the special economic zone. I think we just need to take two steps back. When we talk about the betterment of the common people, we have to look at the broader view of the economy. Where is the economy headed? How is the economy structured? How is it bringing people into the workforce? How is it sort of taking care of people who are out of the workforce? Special economic zones, as the name suggests, are special areas. They're specialized areas that are meant to accelerate productivity, production, movement of goods, and of course the transshipment philosophy. I'll come to that in a second. When we talk about the greater good of a country, of the people of a country, we have to look at how their costs are structured. How are they paying their bills? You have to ask a very simple question. How do they pay their utility bills? If you notice something in Pakistan, for example, of course we're talking about Pakistan, so let's use that as the fulcrum, if I may. If you look at the utility bills, it gives you a clear indication that we need to restructure our input costs. If we can restructure our input costs using the SEZs, that's fine. We can basically then get two birds with one stone. That's how economics moves. You have to have a multiplier effect. SEZs are supposed to, how do I put it? They're supposed to add multipliers to your economy. And multipliers bring value to an economy. It's never a one, your causality in economics, if it's 1 to 1, there's something wrong. Causality in economics is supposed to be 1 to many, positive effects. So SEZs are supposed to be employing people. SEZs are supposed to be producing a lot of goods. SEZs are supposed to be hubs of economic activity. There should be so much happening over there that it's like they're supposed to be like, if I can give another example, they're supposed to be like beehives. SEZs are supposed to be like beehives, so there's supposed to be so much activity going on continuously. SEZs are not supposed to switch off. They're 24/7, 365. But if any country is facing a problem in its SEZ, things are slow, then you have to figure out why that's happening. When we link common good with SEZs, the best thing to do is to make sure that firstly the local people of that area are employed in those SEZs. They're given an opportunity so that they are happy with what's happening. They have a livelihood. Then you can expand it outwards. And SEZs are always supposed to have, as we use the term, radiating effects. So when we talk about the common good, the local people of that SEZ who are near the SEZ should be employed first. They should be given an opportunity first.
Right. How crucial and important is the transfer of technology and relocation of the industry from China to Pakistan, and the Chinese investment here in special economic zones, as President has urged the Chinese investors to invest particularly in SEZs? Okay.
Once again, I think we should take a couple of steps back, and we should just remember that an investor already knows more than us. This is very clear. An investor knows where to invest. All one has to do is to create that facilitation. They will come themselves. What we have to be slightly cautious of, we're more than welcome to have any companies from China coming to Pakistan, we have to be cautious about the environmental aspect. There are many companies in China that have been shut down for their environmental issues. We can't allow that to happen to Pakistan, because then we're going to have another problem. What we can do is we can bring them here, retool their technology, get them to retool it, and most welcome. And by the way, CPEC is not designated only for China. CPEC, SEZs, and everyone, it's open for the world. Whoever wants to come and invest here, they're more than welcome. Even China has said that. It's not like this is just our view. China said everybody can come and invest here, be part of it. That's the bottom line.
So facilitating the investors. Now, the establishment of the Special Investment Facilitation Council most recently, do you think it's going to cater to that?
SIFC is going to be focusing on certain specific areas, as it has highlighted, and I think they're going to be linking it to CPEC eventually. And right now, the whole focus is to sort of streamline our internal system. And I cannot stress this enough. If your system is streamlined, if there is an opportunity, there are investors already available. So SIFC doesn't have to do much. They just have to make sure that we can present the right image forward for foreign investors. And I mean, to be very honest, there's not much visibility. You see, China has a lot of companies. Not many of them know about Pakistan and the opportunities and the percentage numbers that you can actually earn in Pakistan. We give double-digit returns. That's unheard of. But they don't know about it. So if we can present the right image through SIFC or through the embassies, that itself is a huge plus point. SIFC is going to be like the NCOC that we had for COVID. It's going to be the NCOC of investments. It's going to be looking at GCC as well. It's going to be looking at the Mideast and certain other countries. China will be one of them.
Are there major sectors or major industries when we talk about their identification? Have they been identified that could be primarily the part of these SEZs?
In the SEZs?
Yes.
Well, yes and no, because we have given an open forum to most SEZs. There are criteria that a company has to fulfill to become part of an SEZ. However, we have kept things quite flexible. If we look at the SEZs of other countries, they're quite stringent. They're quite stringent. You can't. They want things to be clustered and, to a certain degree, homogeneous. We've kept things a little heterogeneous. However, it's more a question of presenting our possibilities, our avenues to the possible investor, and we just need to sort of make sure that the investor can understand what we're trying to say. That's it. They know more than us. They'll find out very soon that there is an opportunity in Pakistan. They'll come. We just need to make it easier for them.
Right. Mr. Amir, when we talk about the second phase of CPEC, the focus is primarily going to be on the agriculture sector and IT. Specifically talking about agriculture sector, what is there for Pakistan to learn from the Chinese experiences? Prime Minister yesterday during his address in that ceremony said that Pakistan wants to benefit from the Chinese experience and expertise also.
Well, I think first of all, we have to see that our agriculture productivity is very low as compared to even South Asian, averages. The part of reason is that we don't use technology, right? Secondly, our water use efficiency is very low. China is using a lot of new things like this sprinkles and using water efficiently to improve the agriculture outputs using the modern technology. I think the transfer of technology is one thing which will help Pakistan, also building capacity of the agriculture departments and also the farmers to orient them with the new way of producing crop and all that. I think that's important. The second important thing is this environmental issue, because when you do large scale project, you have to do environmental impact assessment, the studies that are required. And Pakistan has environmental protection agencies. Every province has an environmental protection agency, which is well staffed, and which has Pakistan has environmental policy which is well defined. But its implementation is concerned. We have to see that when we do industrialization, We also look at the agriculture side because Pakistan is primarily an agriculture country, but we are not producing enough. The reason is that we have land, but we don't have the technology, the skills required, the capacity at the top level, at the institutional level. So these things will be coming in, and when there will be demand for Pakistani products through this regional connectivity, I think there will also give motivation, because for business, for industry, for agriculture production and growth, you need incentives. The incentives come through a regional connectivity, through a market place where we can actually incentivize the agriculture productivity, but also we have to see the food insecurity, which is one of the most important area. Pakistan needs to think about it. We need to think about it, that how best we can use our own resources, and China is ready to do that, and we have to again look into our own institutional structure. We have to create the preconditions for a very good and business friendly, inclusive development for Pakistan.
So when we talk about the efficient use of water, so what are the recommendations? What are the ideal conditions in which the efficiency of the water use?
You see, Pakistan has 145 MAF water flow per year, which is far more than our requirement. There is a myth that Pakistan lacks water. Pakistan lacks water management.
Yes.
The reason is that we have the very old, this system of, the whole, the British time, the colonial time
irrigation
system, which needs to be upgraded. The water seepage has to be stopped, and secondly, we have to look into how to use the how to ensure that our water, that we have a lot of water in rainy season, for example in monsoon, how to store that water. And also we have, we don't have a regulation for the underground, the water table is going down. We can replenish, we can refill our water source, underground water. So there are technologies for that as well. Very simple, very cheap. I think we can use those things to, again, the use of technology, efficiency, scientific method to increase the water table, and also to store the flow of water, that we have 145 MA of water which goes wasted. 90% of water we don't actually use properly. So I think these efficiencies are very important to ensure, and I think this here we can discuss, we should negotiate with China that these are the things where we need investment, a lot of investment.
Right, Mr. Faheem, as per your understanding, how to ensure the efficient use of water in agriculture sector?
It's a huge topic. I'll try to answer the question. Water, let's start with hydroponics, for example. Hydroponics basically reuses the same water again and again, and you don't basically use soil, you use nutrient-rich water to grow vegetables and certain other things. You cannot use it everywhere, but that one example, whether it's horizontal hydroponics or vertical hydroponics, that tells us that you have to ensure that water just doesn't seep away. And there are other ways of doing it. I mean, you don't necessarily have to put plastic underneath the earth to make sure that water doesn't seep away. You can put in other vegetables that use underground water and seeped water and stuff like that. I think we are working on this. Our Ministry for Water Conservation is working on this. We just need to perhaps accelerate how we're going to do it, because I think you do not need massive amounts of water to produce vegetables. You just need to do it in an efficient way. One of the best ways to do it is to understand how you lose water, how you lose it through evaporation. I mean, these are basic things: evaporation, seepage, and perhaps some other aspects. But how do we sort of minimize that? The Persians brought in the kares because it was an underground water system which was meant to reduce evaporation. So, I mean, I'm not saying we go for kares. I'm just saying that there's far better technology available, and it's not that expensive either. It just needs to be done in a much bigger scale. And how do you do that? You start off small. The best thing is to start off small, create a model and then just keep replicating it. That's how countries do it.
So when specifically we talk about this particular rainy season, the monsoon season, especially of these 2 months, the flow of water in huge quantity, how to manage that?
The floods, rainwater and floods have to be captured. We have sort of not been able to get our hands on that. It's like an elusive concept that we're trying to grapple, but we have not been very successful in capturing floodwater. If you have floodwater coming into the country, that can be diverted, reused. Once again, it's easier said than done, because managing water is not that simple. You have to create massive systems. The irrigation system that exists in Pakistan, it took a while to build that system. So expanding on that or creating a new system will take time. However, it has to be done according to a plan, and that needs to be implemented. To implement it, you need funds, and to get funds, you need to have economic strength. That doesn't mean you can't do it. You can still start it. In major areas, you can start diverting the flood water to other areas. Now, I'll give you an example. This is my thought, and I'm sure many experts are working on this. When India throws its excessive water into Pakistan, it exacerbates our situation. So the best thing for us is to be able to somehow divert that water into other areas where we can, in catchments, so to speak. But for that, we need to plan things out. And I'm sure that planning is being done.
So managing flood water, we often hear about the efficacy of bigger dams. So are the bigger dams the only solution to this one, or this flood water, when it flows downstream from north to south, could it be managed locally as well?
I think it's a question of what that situation requires. If it can be managed locally, fine. If a larger dam is required, fine. We need to try and segregate politics from ground realities. If we need water in a particular area and it can be serviced by a local catchment, that's fine. If a larger dam is required, then let's go for it. We have to have national consensus on it. That's the main thing.
So learning from the Chinese experience, getting back onto the main topic, how important are the new seeds for Pakistani agriculture sector in order to enhance the per acre yield?
Seeds is one thing. Seeds is one thing. Nutrients are another. Fertilizer is another. Then agri health is another. Once everything is done, then how that final product is handled towards the goods status, how it's shipped, all of these things need to be fixed. So seeds are very important, and we also have been working on a lot of seed. To give you an example, Pakistan has our Pakistan Agriculture Research Council has come up with the garlic brand, a garlic variety, which is being planted at a large scale in Pakistan. For the very reason that we need garlic. We're importing, I think, 85% of garlic from other countries. So we're working on it. So you see, we don't necessarily need to ask someone else to give us something. We're doing it ourselves as well. We just need to accelerate it, perhaps. That's the only point.
Right. Mr. Amir, when we talk about the second aspect of the revitalization of China-Pakistan economic corridor, information technology sector is often talked about a lot, and this has been mentioned in the ceremonies yesterday also. So what potential do you think it carries for Pakistan with itself?
Well, I think this is the age of digital technology, and Pakistan has a lot to do on that. We have a huge potential in terms of our young generation. People are actually internationally connected now. We have to have strong IT systems. Look at India, for example, how much they have invested on softwares and IT, and look at other countries in the region, because this is the age of technology. And I think China is ready. Technology is cheaper in China. China produces on mass level, and is internationally recognized that the kind of reliable technology it has evolved over the years. Pakistan has potential, but Pakistan again needs the infrastructure again. You have to have energy sources which are cheaper. You have to have the internet connectivity which is well working, and we also have to invest on the basic infrastructure as well.
So under CPEC, a considerable length of optic fiber is also being
Yeah,
laid
absolutely.
down.
That's very important, because Pakistan is now moving towards that, because in 21st century you need digital economies, right? You need the young generation would like to go on Amazon, would like to do international trade. They would be investing on international platforms, online platforms available. For that, we have to work on that seriously. I think this is one of again, this is very important in Pakistan. The internet usage in Pakistan is higher. If you look at the regional,
Right, Mr. Faheem, your understanding regarding the potential of IT sector, and especially when we talk about the second phase, it focuses alongside agriculture on the IT sector.
IT is, we've already done a lot of work on IT, and the government has facilitated the youth of Pakistan towards IT development. You see, there's a lot of stuff going on. We just need to bring it a little closer to each other so that we can sort of fully assess how much work we've actually done. When it comes to IT development, we already have a lot of critical mass. We just need to strengthen it even further through our infrastructure, which exists. Perhaps even if we don't make new infrastructure. One of the biggest problems that we're facing right now is taxation, remittance movements. If we can fix these two things, because there's a lot of push and pull happening, if we can fix these two things, we already start pushing up our IT exports. Because you see, I can't stress this enough, people who want to work, organizations that want to invest, they know more than us. They know more than us what needs to be done.
So this time around, during this year's budget, there were certain incentives given to this particular IT sector, and some steps were taken regarding the taxation also. If I remember correctly, the fixed tax regime was introduced for this one. So how is it going to help it?
It's going to help a freelancer or a small IT company, because I have to see the exact legality of it, who it applies to. We have, let's be fair, let's just step back and see, we have become a litigious society. We have become very legal about everything. So that sort of creates a lot of, at times, issues. What the government is trying to do is trying to reduce the litigiousness of things. So if there is a fixed taxation system, it is supposed to be a full and final settlement of liabilities. So the taxation authorities cannot question them unnecessarily.
Mr. Faheem Sardar, Senior Policy Specialist at Strategic Policy Planning Cell, National Security Division, thank you very much for your time, for being with us on Views on News tonight. We really appreciate that. Mr. Amir, Senior Journalist, thank you very much for your time also, for being with us on Views on News tonight. With that, we come to the end of today's show. Till the next one, take good care of yourselves, and thank you for watching.